What's up, everybody? Welcome to the View from Jamestown podcast edition. This is episode 64. This is the November 2021 episode. And this morning we are sitting down with TCC President Robb Roach and VP of Sales and Marketing AJ Petrarca. Good morning, fellas.
Good morning.
Morning, Ben.
The condensed crew here this morning.
Yeah, where is everybody?
I don't know. Slackers. bunch of slackers, all of them. No, got a lot going on, lots to talk about. A lot of the same stuff, I think, from the past couple months, but it continues to be a issue, a conversation, things that are directly affecting supply chains. So it's certainly been a busy few months. Seems like it's going to be a busy end of the year here. And starting to see projections that obviously next year I think will be just as hectic, congested, busy, crazy as it's been this year.
Yeah, none of the issues that we've been dealing with have really been solved. We are in November. We're close to Thanksgiving and Christmas and the holidays, and there's typically a slowdown, and we're feeling it a little bit. And inventory adjustment coming into year end, but we're expecting a robust, first half of 2022. Inventories remain low of everything from raw materials to finished goods, so there's no way to fix that but to make more stuff.
Yeah, we have our freight update by the Logistix Company coming up here in a little bit, so we can save a lot of the freight pieces for that, but I know we're still seeing a lot of issues with ocean freight, with port congestion. I know, AJ, you do a lot with the stuff coming from China and bought a lot back in September and October, so I'm assuming some of that's maybe starting to hit the ports, so I'm sure stuff's just as congested and crazy as ever.
Yeah, things are starting to trickle in. Like, we pre-bought a lot of materials for Q1 in anticipation of the China Olympics and things like that, and it seems like ocean freight's starting to come down a little bit, but port congestion's still a real thing, especially on the West Coast. It seems like things are kind of improving on the East Coast ports a little bit. Like, we're not seeing the crazy amounts of congestion or demurrage like we were back in July, August time frame. But I think things seem to be flattening out a little bit. But ocean freight from China's down. We got a quote this morning down to like $12,000 to $14,000 for a 20-foot container, which is down from like what, 24, 26 at the high.
Half price.
Yeah, which is still, I mean,
early Black Friday sale. Buy one, get one free.
Yeah, I mean, even at 12 to 14, that's still historically crazy
It's
expensive.
ridiculous,
but we're, kind of rejoicing from where it was. So, things are starting to show some signs of improvement, but I don't think anything's really going to improve until after the Olympics and the China New Year. And then we should start to see things improving further from there.
Imagine being excited about a $12,000 freight rate from China.
Yeah. Never would have guessed it.
I think we're kind of, I would assume, kind of at the back half or towards the end of the port congestion with Christmas gifts and holiday gifts. I mean, stuff's got to be kind of in the U.S. already to be getting into big box stores and things like that. So hopefully that part eases up. I think the rates coming down shows that it's easing up. But I think you're right. Until the Olympics get past us next February, March, there's going to be a lot of headache in China, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that's a good kind of transition right into talking about China a little bit too. A lot of still government forced regulations and shutdowns in China, seeing a lot of plants shut down. So I think that port congestion until the February 2022 Olympics are past us, we're going to see a lot of that continued congestion and difficulties from historical norms.
Yeah, it's kind of spotty. I've heard some talks. I think, Robb, you were talking about the there's different curtailments of energy depending on what region of China that folks are in. So I think some folks are doing just fine, and other producers are having trouble getting electricity to run and things like that. So it seems like it's a little all over the place. It's not like a across the board problem.
Yeah, a lot of the political leaders are just getting back from the COP26, and there's been some agreements between the U.S. and China on the use of coal for energy. And, so in the future, there's going to be less consumption, hopefully, of coal for energy, I guess, for a cleaner planet. But, and then tonight, Biden's on the phone with Xi, and, it's certainly a tense time between our nations, but hopefully they can start to make some progress on things and come to some agreements on some major issues.
Yeah, I'm sure energies and especially natural gas was a big talking point at that conference, meeting? What is that, convention?
Yeah, it was, I guess it was a conference, world leaders getting together to try and figure out, what to do about climate change and things like that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, there's going to be some people that are happy with the results and a lot of people that are unhappy with the results. But in any event, it was interesting to hear that coal consumption was one of the things that the U.S. and China did agree upon.
Yeah.
So that'll have an impact certainly on anything coal produced. I mean, they use a lot of things to make coal. Methanol, for example, is produced via coal in China. So they'll be shutting a lot of those plants and possibly going to natural gas or have to rely on imported methanol, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, and the natural gas is something we're continuing to monitor and watch. I think when we did the last episode, we were kind of in that week where it was a drastic increase, it seemed like daily, on natural gas in Europe. And it seems like maybe stuff's flattened out a little bit. Starting to hear some reports that supply is easing up a little bit. I think we actually had a article in the November View that I think either has already gone out or will be going out today. So if you get the email version of the View, you would have seen that article. But there's, I guess, some optimism that supply might start to improve, but still definitely a driver of material being short and prices going up, especially out of Europe.
Yeah, energy values have stabilized in both Europe and U.S. They're still at a high level. We hit the gas pump right now. It's pretty darn expensive, but we're starting to see it trickle down into other things, and some of the major feedstocks for chemical raw materials are starting to get lower, specifically like propylene, for example, ethylene. These things are starting to be impacted. So, but again, I sort of feel that's sort of end of year stuff. We're just, demand is going to be a little soft for November and December, and don't get tricked. Don't be fooled by that's going to continue into 2022 because there's a lot of ground to make up still.
Yeah, absolutely. I think coming up for the next episode, so this is the November recording. For the next episode, we're going to switch up the format a little bit. We'll do a little 2021 review and make some predictions for 2022, see how accurate we can be for next year. Should be a lot of fun.
Break out the old crystal ball.
Exactly, precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely.
That'll be interesting.
But yeah, we're starting to hear a lot about next year. Obviously, we can talk about a bit more in the next episode, but we're starting to hear a lot of projections and outlooks and people talking about how tight things will remain through probably well into the second half of next year. So it should be interesting to see how companies and freight forwarders and partners and things like that are taking a look at next year and seeing if and when things may ease up, when pricing may come down. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on coming into the end of the year.
I think, it'll be a while. I don't think it's something that's going to happen overnight, but, you'll see spotty markets will retreat. And overall, I think relief will probably come in a year or two based on history, but, we'll save that for when we make our predictions.
Yeah, start planning now. Start planning now. Before we get into price updates and trends, we do have the Logistix Company. We have Joe Hassenfratz from TLC to give a little freight update, so we'll give it over to Joe. Hey, Joe, what's going on?
Not too much. How you doing, Ben?
Doing very well. Appreciate you coming back on the podcast. Had a good cadence going on every other month or so, having you on from TLC.
Always appreciate it.
Appreciate the freight insight as always.
Absolutely. It's been fun.
Yeah, of course. If you haven't caught some of the past episodes, we have Joe Hassenfratz here. He's the sales manager from the Logistix Company. Why don't you give a little background and overview on yourself and TLC in case anybody hasn't caught a prior episode?
Absolutely. A pleasure as always. Thank you again for having us. Joe Hasenfratz with the Logistix Company, sales and marketing manager. At TLC, we're a freight forwarder, so deal heavily with liquid dry bulk, LTL. We have intermodal capacities as well. Very diverse freight forwarder. So if there's anything out there, hazardous, non-hazardous, if it's moving, we're looking to help assist in that type of lane.
One of the biggest Bills fans I know, next to my future mother-in-law. You guys are kind of on par, I think.
Hey, listen, we finally have a pretty decent season rolling here, and got the Patriots unfortunately still nipping at our heels. Thought we might have a little bit of a break with Brady exiting the division, but re-upped with Mac Jones, it looks like.
But yeah, the freight's been an interesting conversation. I think no matter what your business is, no matter whether you're buying, selling, importing, exporting, you're dealing with freight issues. I don't envy people on the day-to-day freight management side of things. It's been an interesting, couple months and really kind of year.
Yeah.
We were just talking.
Year
I
and a
think
half.
our next episode beyond this will be a little 2021 recap / 2022 outlook. So that'll be interesting to really look big picture at what the last year held and what's in store. But in the short term, it's the middle of November, so we are coming to the end of the year here. It's been, I guess, 2 months since we've had the episode.
Yep.
But starting things off, I know the ports have been a big question mark. Imports, exports, delays getting things out of the port. What's going on that front? How are you guys seeing the status of ports and importing and exporting?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, we've had quite a crazy year. No reason to stop now. Heading into the holiday season, unfortunately, if you have anything that has yet to hit the water, I don't know how quickly you were expecting it, but I would temper all of the expectations that you're going to get it before end of year, just because it's pretty crazy out there right now. Ports continue to have major issues, so much so that the government's getting involved to try and alleviate some of that congestion. Read some articles this morning that Port Savannah is currently utilizing pop-up locations to start taking some of these empty containers that are waiting to get back outbound, and it's wild. It really is. Port LA is crazier than ever. You hear about the record number of vessels that are docked, just waiting to get in, or anchored, waiting to get into the actual port. So you'd like to think that there's going to be some light at the end of the tunnel here, but quite frankly, the holiday rush and all that comes with it, I think is going to just compound some of the congestion we've been experiencing.
Yeah, I think based on everything that's I'm reading or hearing about, and ports and stuff doing things like that, putting actual physical assets into place to try to alleviate some of this stuff. I think as much as we would have liked to know that after the Christmas holiday, some of that would ease up, but I think from everything we're seeing, it's really going to be well into the second half of next year before anything potentially eases up.
Yeah, and I mean that's optimistic to be sure.
Yeah.
The entire compounding of what's happened throughout all of 2021 just is showing so many of the chinks in the logistics armor, unfortunately, and the supply chain. Anybody in the supply chain field whatsoever is probably losing or getting as gray of hair as currently happening over in our office for sure.
Yeah, I mean a massive increase in demand. People shopping from home for paper towels and things that maybe they historically didn't. Coupled with issues with COVID and limited drivers, and it's kind of a perfect freight storm.
Yeah, I mean the big box stores starting to really start leaning on that door-to-door delivery is definitely coming to a head for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the avenues that's really TLC's bread and butter is obviously the truck freight, whether it's liquid bulk or dry bulk. But kind of, I know you guys focus a lot more on the eastern half of the states, but what are you guys seeing on the truck freight side these days?
Yeah, so to be completely honest with you, I think now more than ever, carriers are being as picky and choosy with what they want to service, just given all of the pent-up demand out there. So our recommendation is just make your freight as appealing as possible. So often we see so many loading or unloading requirements, can only deliver in this day and time. And, if that's the case, you may just see a carrier up and, walk away from that type of a request. So we always advise, be as flexible as possible, make your freight seem as appealing as possible in order to make sure that you're at least near the front of the line when the time comes to actually move any of your freight.
That's a good point. That's not something I thought of, is what individual companies can do to make their shipping lives easier, whether it's outbound or inbound.
Absolutely.
You see some companies with crazy requirements and some companies that have no requirements, and obviously that's much more friendly.
And the ones that have no to very little typically will get theirs kind of a little bit more timely than the ones that, and we understand that some of these plants just aren't set up, whether it's from a personnel standpoint, because it's so challenging to hire anybody nowadays. You see all of the struggles to find personnel all over the place. So, or they don't have the proper equipment, whatever it might be. But
the sheer size of some of these companies, you need some sort of process in there.
Absolutely. So we always understand there is going to be potential issues, and it's easy for us to say, make make it as easy as possible. But
Yeah.
that is honestly kind of the environment that we're currently in.
Yeah. So you're expecting tough couple weeks with the Christmas time holiday, with availability, with pricing. Should be an interesting November and December.
I think as we really kind of get to the end of the year here, and the quick influx of all that's going to be happening with all of the holiday shopping deliveries, that does present some challenges for the normal spot lanes that aren't always being fulfilled. So I would expect some price increases to be especially in the spot market to be experienced over the next 2 months for sure.
Yeah. LTL freight, I think something we've talked in the past that of the four maybe was the easiest or had the best capacity. How's LTL freight?
Yeah,
looking these days?
it's still moving for sure. Pricing is all over the place. So depending on where you're looking to move it to or from, it's quite all over the place. And again, just being compounded by the holiday rush that we're currently in. But I think now more than ever, there's a lot of people moving on the LTL front because they just want to get their product to whoever needs to go to. So we used to be able to say, hey, hold on to some of these shipments, wait for a more favorable FTL, but no longer is that always the case.
So you think that's the gap is closing between doing a couple LTL freights or just holding and doing one full truck freight?
And again, I think it all just comes back to demand.
Yeah.
I think if you have the product, nowadays you're more favorable than a lot of people, as it's just tougher and tougher to find some of these commodities. People just want to get it in their hands as quickly as possible. So again, it's easier for us to say, hold on for an FTL if it's going to be going to one spot. But nowadays, just to keep up production lines and everything going,
just
sometimes
get it where it needs to go as soon as you can. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the final of the four core services that you guys offer, the rail side of things, obviously a lot tougher to quote a spot rail car versus some of these trucks and LTL freight. But obviously rail, I think something that people are leaning a little heavier on these days. Maybe some people haven't considered it in the past just to have some more consistent lanes. But I'm sure rail's been quite challenging as well with the increase in demand.
Yeah, and what used to be a much more competitive, viable lane for a lot of people, just given, maybe it's not as time sensitive. Again, people are just trying to find any avenue to get a product to its end user. So we're finding often is the case, rail may not be the cheaper solve with OTR kind of normalizing a bit, And again, we'll see how that goes over the next 2 months. But we'll take a look at any option to help a customer get whatever they're looking for. But that's another interesting lane.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest value adds for TLC and one of the best resources for TCC is you guys know all these different lanes and types of transportation and can pick and choose the best ones depending on the situation, what's going on. That's a massive asset.
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty deep Rolodex when it comes to trying to figure out a solution to whatever is thrown onto our plate. So TLC is set up very well to assist in any and all requests.
We dump some complex situations on your plate sometimes, so it's definitely a good time to have some unique fixes.
I mean, it always every day is a new day, and we're looking into growing that Rolodex every opportunity. So we appreciate all of the support everybody is sending our way.
Wrapping things up, I know we're coming to the end of the year here. I'm sure you're starting to talk about 2022 trade shows and events and travel. Yep. But what's coming up here for the end of the year?
Yeah, so we've got the Compounders Conference. We'll be attending beginning of December down in Savannah, and then we'll be taking a good look at Q1 and Q2 as far as some of those trade shows that will be coming up. So be on the lookout for all of those. Please reach out, especially if you are going to be traveling to one of those. We'd love to meet up and make sure that TLC is a good fit for whatever that individual customer may have for us.
Yeah, I'm sure you're looking forward to a somewhat normal calendar year of events and travel, and even this year I think was only about a half year with COVID still in the first half of the year. So I'm excited to get back to a normal.
Busy second half for sure. I think there was 7 shows in 8 weeks, so that was nice to be back living out of a suitcase for a little bit. Feel like post-COVID times or pre-COVID times. Apologies.
Very much so. Awesome. Well, thanks, Joe. Appreciate you coming on. Look forward to talking to you next month as well for that little recap/forecast. We'll see how correctly our next year forecasts can be. It'll be interesting to see. if you scroll down wherever you're streaming this podcast, we'll have both Joe's email as well as the TLC website. So feel free to shoot him a note, give TLC a look for any of your freight needs. But appreciate having you on.
Absolutely. Thanks again, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. Moving on, price updates and trends. Looking back, we're kind of right in the middle of November, which is a good perspective on what we saw for November as well as what we're starting to hear for December. Prices kind of all over the place for November. We saw certain raw materials coming down a bunch, certain raw materials increasing, certain things remaining quite tight. Crude oil, natural gas up a little bit. Decreases on propylene for November. Stock market's up, so we got a lot of different stuff going on for November. Things a little bit all over the place.
Yeah, it is. It's you can't put your finger on one direction whatsoever.
Yeah.
It is. It's all over the place. I mean, some details are, we're seeing some erosion in pricing in some of the oxo alcohols. We're seeing some firmness in plasticizers, though, with some operating issues. Overall, we're seeing decreases in propylene across the board, ethylene, small decrease. Obviously, we're talking about crude, natural gas, and 79, 81 range, U.S. natural gas in the $5 per MMBTU range, which is, still inflated. But yeah, I mean, talk about stock market gains. I mean, breaking records all the time. Very interesting. The EV market has been on fire lately. A lot of interest in electric vehicles. But I think that business has been pretty strong, and earnings came out, and earnings have been very good for chemical producers as well as, across the board in a lot of cases, because demand is there. People are still buying. Prices are still high. Inflation is still there. But these things take time to erode and get back to normalcy. But, I think that we're seeing, as I keep repeating, we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown right now, and people are thinking, oh, well, this is the new norm, or this is the way that, this is just a temporary end of year, keep inventories low, get our accounting in place for the end of the year, and then things are going to really ramp up in January, February, March, and then we're going to have big pains coming out of China. There's going to be no supply in China. We're going to see ports shut. We're going to see availability out of China really erode for months, and that's going to have big impacts.
Yeah, January, February should be certainly quite interesting. People starting to try to buy again, bring back in inventories.
If you're not prepared, you're going to be ready for a roller coaster ride come January, February, March. The first quarter is going to be very interesting.
Seems like very much not the year to try to limit your inventories. Understand the financial reasons to want to not keep inventories on the floor, but you might be in for a little bit of a surprise come January, February.
Yeah, I mean, look at your order patterns and and prepare, because you're not, just in time is over. You just can't get product when you need it, so you better be prepared. We're seeing a lot of our customers be more prepared, more open to different ways of buying and procurement. So I think people are starting to learn, and there's a lot on the table for big demand in the first half of the year, and if you just don't have the raw materials, you're going to be sitting in the bullpen, with nothing to do. So you better be prepared.
Did you see that electric vehicle company IPO'd, and their value is like the second biggest car company in the world? Or something absurd? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
like they're only behind General Motors. Like, how is that possible?
I mean, Tesla was $1 trillion company. I mean, the fact is that petroleum burning cars are going to be around for a while. EV still depends on massive amounts of energy. You still need to create energy by burning coal, natural gas, solar panes, wind machines, wind turbines, tidal turbines, whatever it is.
Yep.
There's still a massive amount of energy needed. So there's some pretty cool projects going on around the world to try and capture and hold energy and move it around. And what people don't understand is that's exactly what we do with gas and oil. It's just energy that we're able to move around the world. So, but yeah, it's very interesting. It's speculative, and you look at like a company like Lucid, really neat high-end cars. Got Motor Trend Car of the Year. Has the highest amount of miles per charge at over 500 miles. I mean, super interesting stuff.
Wow.
But again, that's a $200,000 car, and I think they've released a dozen cars right now. and the stock is $40-some, per share. So it's like, it's a lot of it is betting on the future, I think, and that is going to be the future. But how long out? I'm willing to argue we've still got time.
Yeah.
Where we're going to still, there's also new petrol burning car companies that nobody's talking about. So,
Yep.
but yeah, interesting topic, EVs, but we're not experts in that.
Very much not. Very much not. But it is interesting to watch.
Excuse me.
Interesting to see what companies are doing. Affects what we do loosely. I mean, you see paints and coatings and the automotive interiors and things like that. So whether that's, if people are going to keep electric vehicles longer, shorter, more or less turnover on cars, there's a lot of play with it. It'll be interesting to see how stuff shakes out.
Yeah, and they're going to need lighter substrates, stronger, lighter plastics and polymers, and so there's definitely like a lot of things happening in our industry to support this, which is exciting. It's exciting to see, and we're participating in that for sure. We're at the forefront of that.
That's a great positive spin on the chemical industry. And people can have preconceived notions about the word chemical, but that's what the industry is. That's what's happening, is making better materials, lighter materials.
That's right. We're innovative. That's for sure. We're probably the first to innovate. Before it really gets down the pipeline. We're the first to innovate. So
Absolutely.
you need, and you look at the way that oil producing countries are looking at oil production now. They're not just looking at producing oil and selling oil. They're looking at the value chain to go further down into petrochemicals. That's been a big thing now because that's the future of oil. If they're not going to be using it for energy, it's got to go somewhere.
A lot of products we, I guess, could talk about the segment off of that with the automotive interiors and various applications like that. Two products we're looking at these days: phthalic anhydride, a core product for TCC, something we got a good position on, and actively looking at existing opportunities, new opportunities, a long-standing product for TCC.
Yeah, Thalic's been in our line card and been part of our product matrix for a long, long time. There's a lot of ongoing studies of phthalic anhydride, but it's a critical product and used for paints and coatings and plasticizers. So it's there. There's a lot of movement in plasticizers, for example, to go to other acids like purified terephthalic acid or adipates or trimolytic acid, even things like citrates or citric acid. But we still need things like DINP, which is the largest produced plasticizer in the world. I think DOP actually is the largest still in the world, but DINP second. We still need that because the demand is there. There's not enough of these other acids. I keep saying acids, anhydride means without the water, but it is an acid, reacts with an alcohol, and you get DINP or DOP, et cetera. There's still a need for these general purpose plasticizers worldwide to create flexible vinyl. And we saw that when the pandemic hit. We needed these polymers for so many different reasons. And so
almost more than ever.
Almost more than ever. And so phthalic anhydride is still here. It's still going to be around. You certainly have to be careful in its applications, but it's got some very critical applications, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And a newer one we're starting to talk about, we're kind of working on the details, and we'll have more to come very soon, but we are working on a new product called HMD. Always exciting to bring a new product onto the portfolio and start promoting it and understanding the applications and the markets for it. So that's a new one for us that we're excited to start talking about, and obviously we'll have more information coming out in the, weeks and months to come.
Yeah, by HMD you mean hexamethylene diamine, and this is a product that is sold at 100%, but it's also watered down into different concentrations, 70%, 85%, 90%. We have it in bulk and we have it in package, totes and drums. So we're very excited to add that product to our portfolio.
Very much so. I'm sure we'll have much more to come on that one sometime very soon. But good time to start mentioning it and throwing it out there. So if there is any HMD interest out there, we're happy to talk about it. Trade shows, events, conferences, we are actively putting the final touches on our 2022 lists. But I know we got one show coming up in the wintertime that we're excited to get out of Rhode Island for the weekend.
Well, I'll be in beautiful Atlantic City this week for the Eastern Coating Show.
This is true.
But I don't think that's the one you're referring to. That's talking about the flexible vinyl.
I heard Atlantic City is one of the most beautiful cities in the country. I've
yeah.
actually never been. It's probably not a bad city, right? I mean,
It's not a great city.
no, not on the top of the list.
You don't want to go off the strip too far.
Yeah,
You know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but the Eastern Coasting Show should be exciting. A lot of well attended.
it's a smaller show, but I've
Yeah.
got some good meetings set up, and it's been I think 2 or 3 years since I've been, so I'm excited to get back and see the regular folks down there.
Yep.
So if anybody's going to be there, I don't know if this will be released in time, but if anybody's going to be there, let me know. We'll set up a meeting.
Absolutely.
I think Atlantic City had its heyday, but now you can gamble just about anywhere. So there's
It's true.
there's
It's
no
true.
reason to go to Atlantic City.
That's
so
true.
But I'd agree with AJ. It's not bad, but it's you want to stay in the main parts of the strip, if you will.
Yeah. Well, then another show coming up in December at a much more beautiful location.
The Flexible Vinyl Compounders Conference, or is that the official term for it?
I think it's so. I was just talking to Joe about this. It's funny. I think it's the Plastics Compounders Conference.
Okay.
But I think it's gone as like the Flexible Vinyl Conference. Like people know it by different names. Everyone kind of knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Plastics Compounders Conference in Savannah in
Okay.
December should be nice.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that one. Be nice to get into Savannah and cold weather up in the Northeast.
That usually goes off in July, right? That's the one that happens usually in July.
Typically July, and it bounces between DC one year, and then they do it in a nice location the other year. The DC years are great because there's so many regulatory bodies and people in DC. It's so easy to get a lot of good speakers coming in. But then it's nice that they switch it up. This year's in Savannah. Last year was supposed to be in DC when it got canceled for COVID. But Savannah should be a great location. We're excited for that one.
Well, it's nice to get back to conferences.
Yeah, it's a great agenda they always do, and it's always very well attended. So a good opportunity for the cocktail hours and meetings and things like that. So we'll have a good group down there. I think potentially everyone at this table will be down there. So yeah, if you're going to be at the Compounders Conference, I think we'll have one more. No, I guess we won't. This will be because it's the first week of December. So this will be the last time we talk about it because the next episode will be after it goes. But if you'd be at the Compounders Conference, we'd be happy to set up a meeting and hope to see you down there. Hopefully it's well attended.
Absolutely.
Wrapping things up, what else is going on for the rest of November? I know you're traveling this week.
Yep, got some travel coming up. I thought I really missed travel when I wasn't doing it all that time, and now that I'm back, I'm like, I want to stay local, But no, it's good to be back and good to be back out and seeing people.
Are you driving to Jersey?
Yeah, I looked at flights. It's tough to get there. I guess there is an airport in Atlantic City, but it's like a small regional.
You need a private plane to get in there. We're not there yet.
Yeah, I almost booked one, but I figured,
Apparently you haven't seen my marketing budget for next year yet.
Oh God, we're definitely
it's
not
in
there yet.
Yeah, I think the private rate was like $12,000 each way to Atlantic City. So
piece of cake. Piece of cake. I would actually guess more than that. I thought I heard somewhere it was like 10,000 per flight hour.
this was, I don't even know, it was on like Kayak or something like that.
Okay.
It was that was the option, the only option from Providence to AC, and it was like 12,000 each way. So
That'd be a fun expense report to put through.
I think you could drive. It's only 4 hours. No, I'm probably more like 5 hours, I'd say, to get to AC. But
it's
Yeah.
funny, like as soon as you get into Newark, you think you're almost there, and then it's like another jaunt from Newark. It's
Oh,
it's
yeah.
all the way down.
you got a lot of exits
Yeah.
past Newark. Yeah.
But no, good episode. Looking forward to our December recording. We'll try to see what we can put together for a recap on 2021, as well as an outlook on what we're hearing next year. We'll have TLC back on to give a little freight recap as well as a freight update for 2022. So looking forward to coming to the end of the year, looking back on this year, and then really starting to put some plans in place to make next year as good of a year, if not better than 2021. So
Yeah.
a lot coming up here for the end of the year.
Exciting.
Happy Thanksgiving. I guess we won't have another episode
Yeah.
before then. So
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
looking forward to it next week. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon.